YouTube, MeTube. Okay. Me either. It would seem that can you talk? I'm just making sure your audio is coming through the Discord or through the YouTube.
Test, test, test. This is Kyle talking at a normal volume. This is Kyle talking a little bit louder. This is Kyle talking quietly.
Okay, cool. Okay, I think we're good. I'll kick us off. Oh, and if you want to go to the YouTube.
Did you post the link anywhere?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Okay. I am ready now. Jesus. Sorry. Okay. Hello and welcome to Bad End Podcast. This is episode number 132. I am Josh Calixto, your host for this episode, joined by my wonderful, savvy, incredible, game developing, endlessly smart, endlessly well-spoken co-host Kyle Cookstell. Kyle, how's it going?
Hi. Glad to be on the podcast.
How's it going?
It's going well. I've been playing some video games.
Yeah?
Yeah.
We've been discoursing some video games. I don't know if you were there.
I missed it. I don't think I was there. You said let's talk about discourse this episode.
Yeah,
And-
we had
Yeah.
one of the biggest discourses.
Oh, was this the drip conversation?
Yes, the drip conversation.
Mm-mm.
We talked for like 8 hours about drip in video games straight. Like
On Discord, to be clear. Not
Yes.
Like there was not a panel discussion on video games and drip.
yes, but it was the most lively discussion I think I've had in video games, and it reminded me of like the glory days when we would just have think pieces that we would just be just discussing for hours on end.
It felt like a writer's room. It was like people like workshopping the idea as it was being discussed.
Yeah, an actual manifesto on a video game drip came out of this conversation, which is pretty amazing, if you ask me.
You want to recap the conversation for the listeners who aren't part of the Discord? Patreon.com/badend.
Yeah, so this actually started, it's the result of, let me bring this up, Thor High Heels, wonderful YouTuber, came out with a top 100 list of games, which, you know, they had some rules for what this list would entail. Basically no more than one of like any series. But there's some crazy picks on here. Most of them, I would say most of them are things you would not find on a top 100 games list. But it wasn't top 100 games of all time. It wasn't best 100 game. It was, quote, top 100 games. So they said it was games that were like important to them or that they couldn't stop thinking about, that stuck in their head. So this thing's got Yakuza Like a Dragon. Okay, the Final Fantasy entry on here is Dirge of Cerberus. Resident Evil Dead Aim is on here. Last of Us Part 2. Fatal Frame 3.
It's on nobody's list.
Gex 3 is on here. Let me look for some of the weird ones. Astral Chain. Tomba. They said that the 25th Ward, the Silver Case, is their favorite game, though. So I have yet to play that. However, I did decide to kind of go back and check out some of these like sorts of games that are cool, that have this like stylistic impact. And so I checked out Killer 7 because I had downloaded that a couple months ago. It's a game from my childhood that I played when I was younger, had no clue what the hell was going on.
Also, like notably, Killer 7 was just for GameCube. It might have been on PS2, maybe.
It came out for PS2, I believe, quite a bit later. Yes.
And it was like, GameCube at the time was like, they were not mature games on GameCube. It's like, even more like sort of sanitized than the current Switch generation. It's like stuff that did well and people bought on GameCube was like Wind Waker, like Billy Hatcher, GB Robo,
right?
Like Killer 7. The people who would have liked Killer 7 did not have GameCubes. So like it came out and all the people that like review GameCube games were like, this is weird, really violent, M-rated game. And like being a kid in that era too, it was like, you can't ask your mom to buy you a game called Killer 7 that's rated M for GameCube. Like I had a hard time getting my parents to buy me Smash Brothers because that was rated T. Like no fucking way I'm going to get Killer 7. So it's one of those things that you just went to Blockbuster and kind of picked up and you're like, yeah, maybe. And then all the other kids who would have liked Killer 7 were probably just playing Halo.
I saw it in an issue of Play magazine and was like, this game looks amazing and it looks like art. And I was like young as hell, had I had read 0 books. Like Riho books.
You read like the Giver.
I'd heard, like Harry Potter and The Giver was my like point of reference. And I started playing this game and was like, this is fucking weird. I have no clue what's going on in this game. I dived right into the deep end here. There's some like Philip K. Dick weirdness going on. And I thought I was prepared, but I just wasn't. And revisiting it now, though, I'm like, holy moly, this game is so ahead of its time. You know? Have you played this game, Kyle?
I played like the first few hours of it like 3 or 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this is cool. But also I was like playing on PC. So like I don't know if I was playing on an emulator. I don't know. I was playing it in some way that felt like not like the way to play it. Like, the way to play it seems like you want to actually be on a GameCube controller on a console.
Yeah.
Or maybe like a Dolphin or something. But I don't think I was playing like that.
Yeah, I'm playing it on PC because it's on Steam. And
yeah,
you had to tweak some stuff because it is not made for the PC, but it feels pretty good the way I have it set up.
Part of like the whole thing is like, because like it's like a sort of first person sort of shooter thing, but it's like kind of like dual analog stick aiming stuff. So I remember being like weird and like playing it with the mouse is like, you kind of feel like you're not supposed to be doing that.
Yes.
It's like a strong argument for like game preservation and emulation stuff, because this game really feels like it needs to be played on the platform which it was released on and not just like in an emulator or something.
Right. It's just, I feel like I could talk about this game forever, but I want to get back into the drip conversation.
Maybe we should do the next Superculture review. It should be on Killer 7.
That would be
Yeah.
great. Actually,
Yeah,
that would be
I think
sick.
so.
And it could be like a 3 episode or 4 episoder, you know?
Yeah. The other
Huh.
weird thing, just before we talk about drip, I remember also like in my small like preteen brain when Killer 7 was out, I also remember that there was another like kind of violent GameCube game at the same time, which I think was called 13.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember this?
Yes.
I think that one was like a day and date with PS2, but I remember like getting them confused in my head. And they also very stylish because 13 is like a graphic novel
It's that
style
cell
thing.
shaded look.
Yeah. And it was like looked really cool too, but it's like you're saying Killer 7 feels way more like modern, like kill like the line to from Killer 7 to like Paradise Killer or something is a lot more obvious than 13 was just sort of like aping a style, but Killer 7 you really kind of feel like this thing like started something in young Josh Calixto's brain that people kind of went on to remediate, but also like nothing has come close since then, um, without just feeling like a ripoff. But
Yeah.
anyways, drip.
Yeah. So we started talking, and so a lot of people were reacting to Thor High Heels list saying, oh, this has to be like rage bait, or, you know, some of these picks, like, I don't understand how one could possibly include this. Oh, Bala and Wonderworld was on here.
Wonderland.
Bala and Wonderland. Are you sure?
I
I don't
think
know.
so.
Whatever.
Isn't it?
Uh,
Oh, it is Wonderworld.
yeah.
Sorry.
There's some funky stuff. Lego Island.
Lego Island rips. That's the most fucking Thor High Heels game.
Yeah,
It's
it
like,
is. In retrospect, when you think
the other
about
thing
it.
about Thor High Heels, I said this on the Discord too, but I think that I think he's like such a like an I never know how to say this word. Aesthete, like ASTHETE.
Aesthet.
Aesthete. Where I
Aesthete.
think that he kind of really operates off vibes. So I think that the list is like a strong lightning rod uh vibe finder, more so than like this game is fun to play. Um
Yes.
which is why that kind of explains some of, like, I think Balan Wonderworld, a lot of vibes going on there, even if the game is like a kind of bad Mario Odyssey knockoff.
And I get it. Like, and I think that we need more people like that who like the games that are practically intolerable to play, but are oozing with vibe and what I began to call drip in this conversation. It's the games that have a sense of style, a sense of cool. And let me pick up here this this was in the Gamer Lounge, right? I believe it was in the
I don't
Gamer
remember.
Lounge.
I feel like it's spilled over to the whole Discord.
Sorry, and now I'm just looking in the Discord. Okay, here we go. Superculture Symposium Artifact 1. This was like after like 4 hours of conversation boiled down. A game with drip is cool, ineffably charismatic, and engages with culture outside of games. It brings new, specific tastes and perspectives belonging to subcultures and aesthetic movements with a clarity expressed confidently throughout the object. An object's drip is discounted if imitated, unconfident, insignificantly altered from a ubiquitous non-games culture such as Saturday morning cartoons, or sufficiently nerdy in a respect representing the industry's insularity. Examples of drip games include Killer 7, The World Ends With You, Doom, the original, Devil Daggers, Divine Cybermancy, and Hotline Miami. Counter examples: Cyberpunk 2077, Baldur's Gate 3, Supergiant Games, Hotline Miami 2,
Just category.
Hotline Miami 2, and World of Warcraft.
Hi-Fi Rush.
So this was, you don't know how long it took to get to this point. But basically, when I look at the Thor High Heels list, I see games that mostly fit within that, or want
It's
to
a
fit
drippy
within
list.
that. It is a very drippy list. It says a lot about the person who plays those games. It's something that is not going to appeal to everyone, but I'm glad it appeals to someone because we need more games to have drip. They should not be mutually exclusive. Playable, good
I don't
game.
think that's true though. I don't think that's true because I think drippy games feel like they are standouts because there are so many non-drippy games. And I think that like once you have drip consensus, that just kind of gets subsumed into the thing that is no longer dripped. So I think that like I think that there's a good ratio of dripness to games, and I don't think that like if you made 30 more games like Killer 7, it would kind of like dilute the drippiness of something like Killer 7. So I feel like it's a perpetual tension between making something that's cool and then having that sort of style and coolness just be absorbed into the culture such that it's like no longer cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. So I'm entering my era of trying to play games with drip because I feel like I simply do not have enough, and I haven't sought them out enough. And I'm looking to use this list as sort of like a starting point. Not the be all end all,
Mm.
but there's some games on here where I'm like, man, this game looks sick. Like I really want to check this out. You know, even if I only watch a playthrough or play through a little bit of it, I feel like this is something that's missing from, it's a blind spot for me. So I want to check that out a bit
Mm-hmm.
more. It's one of my new resolutions for the year is to check out more games with drip. The bouncer looking sick.
I was just thinking of whatever like insane you like plucked some like anime trash recently, like today. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes. Yes. Which
Does
one?
that count?
This is actually sort of a separate note of what I want to talk about this game later. It's called Love and
Okay.
Deep Space. It's a
Uh,
it's a dating sim. I believe it's called an otome game, primarily aimed at women. And it's
Deep space, one word.
I
One
believe
word.
so. Love and Deep
is, yeah.
Space. This game is fucking cool,
Romance
actually.
simulation game.
Romance simulation game. Yeah.
But also like a Dark Souls knockoff.
There's combat. For some reason there's combat in this game. But wait. Do you have anything else you want to say about drip? Because there's like 5 conversations happening here at once because we had them all like in overlapping thematically. But do we want to talk more about drip here?
I feel like I think it's what was hard for me was to disambiguate it from like style. The game's just got style, but I think style is like Hi-Fi Rush has style, or like what was the game with the Kurosawa mode? What was that?
Not Trek to Yomi.
Ghost of Tsushima.
Ghost of Tsushima, yeah.
The game's got like style, but I think that style is maybe style doesn't fully capture. I think you can have style without having taste, and I think there's
Yes.
something about a fully dripped game, where it feels like the work of like a cohesive philosophy about what someone is making.
Yeah,
But also is like very aesthetically charged,
right.
or valent, you could even say. Um,
One member of
I think
the
it's like
chat
I think if anything, it's like a really good frame to like think about what Thor High Heels likes. Like you're saying, the list kind of really reflects on his own tastes, and I think that is useful.
yes.
But also, like drippy games are also like hard because they are almost like by definition sort of exclusionary, and so you have to sort of you're coming in for like a kind of like a meta uh want, which maybe in some way could be subversive
Yeah.
because you're coming in not because of like a PR machine or like it's sold well or it's everybody's favorite game. You're kind of coming in to like soak in the vibes, soak in the authentic vibes, I think you could say, not the like manufactured pandering vibes, kind of vibes that manifest naturally from the dripped game.
Yeah. I think there's something about a game with drip in which one can just kind of exist on the game's wavelength without feeling bored. Like it's like the kind of person that you can spend a lot of time in silence with and still be comfortable. If I'm playing Horizon Zero Dawn and I'm not doing anything and I'm riding my robot horse from point A to point B, I feel like I'm about to lose my shit because I'm bored as fuck.
Yeah.
I'm looking at like a mountain in the deep horizon, and you're making me skin like a fucking monster robot bear or something like that. I'm like, this is boring. But a game with drip, you can kind of just sit there and be like, wow, this environment is cool. The sound of my feet on the ground is cool. Like, and that's what I'm feeling with Killer 7. I'm just kind of soaking it all in. And there's actually space to do that because there's more interesting things going on here visually, sonically, aesthetically, than just like everything needing to be full of gameplay and fun at all times. There's just like more to read in there. It's not literal, and therefore it doesn't reduce itself to the shapes on the screen. It's the most pretentious possible way to describe a video game, but that's what we're aiming for when we talk about drip. There is something pretentious about it, I think.
I think there is. I think that's okay.
But that's okay, because games aren't pretentious enough, in my
That's
opinion.
Okay. No, I think games could probably do with more like actual pretension too.
Oh yeah, there's such a
Like-
people be like, oh,
just try, just try. Like,
yeah,
it's not cringe to try in games.
it's not, and people confuse style at large with what you're talking about, pretension, where it's like, oh, like this writing is sad or whatever. It's like, this Unravel is not pretentious. Like Ori and the Blind Forest is not pretentious. It's just, it's a sad tearjerker. Yeah, it's like a Pixar animation as a game. Like there's nothing pretentious about that. Like, anyway.
Anyway.
What do you want to talk about next? We can go back to the dating sim, but I don't know if you want to talk about like Prince of Persia or something like that.
I'm trying to find this dating sim on Steam and I cannot find it.
It's not on Steam. It's a mobile game. It's like a phone game.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about that right now.
You don't?
Unless you think there's something interesting to say about it. Unless it's just like Josh discovers mobile Korean VNs.
No, it's just, I mean, I think it's Chinese. I'm not sure, but it's just like, it's really interesting the way that they tell this story. And from like a forum perspective, there's stuff in here that I haven't seen before. It's not the first of its kind to do this, but like...
Did you say forum or
form?
Yeah.
Formal things going on. Like the primary mode of storytelling is first person dialogue. So it's like...
this looks sick. I'm looking at the website's it actually shows you. Oh god, it's making too much noise. I can't get it out.
Yeah, the website is
it's like
really
portrait.
slow.
Your phone is like vertical.
Yes. And it shows you, I'm trying to bring up some. It shows you like having a first person conversation with some like hot guy.
He's got 11, then you go a little further over in the spreadsheet, and it's like Final Fantasy 16.
And you can, like you can respond to them like in real time, and just like you're talking to a 3D model, it's moving and it's fully voice acted during these big sequences. And so you're just like watching hot guys do stuff and talk to you, and then afterwards they text you. Like you'll be like in the cafe, and the guy that you just met is texting you, and you text them back, and then you can like leave comments on their social media. This is all in game, by the way. You can like their social media, comment on it, and then like your affinity with them will increase. So like just by interacting with them more, they're like starting to love you more. And you just go through their story. They'll call you like on your phone, and like you talk to them, I guess.
Real phone?
Well, it's like you through the app.
Like in game. Okay, not they won't like give you like a real phone call.
So they'll ping you like the text from the dude. That's like, oh, I just saw this person.
Like a push notification.
It's a push notification from the app, but it's like it's acting as if it's just a text message from the guy in the app. And so you're building these relationships with this dude in your app, and then you can like go for the next story thing. There's gotcha elements, weird stuff, but the core of what's here is really interesting because they're using a lot of different tricks and media to tell this story and develop your relationships with these characters that I've never really seen in other games before. Not to say they don't exist elsewhere. This is just something that has been, quote, relegated to dating sim otome game stuff that we don't see much, but could be an interesting space for, stuff in the future. There's a lot of really neat stuff being mashed up here that is clearly resonating with a lot of people. This thing is huge.
How'd you find out about this?
TikTok. I saw like an ad for it and was just like, what the heck? It had like hundreds of thousands of likes. It does. And when I downloaded it, it's like, it feels super expensive and high budget and legit. Yeah. But I don't know. I want to just see more of what's going on here, even though these games don't really get me going. I'm not like, I don't get giddy. I don't like start kicking my feet with these guys trying to romance me, which is clearly the intent. But I think there's a lot of really interesting storytelling stuff happening here.
I want to check it out just because like you're saying, the form is really interesting.
You play like 10 minutes of it. You play 10 minutes of it. You'll see exactly what's happening after like 10, 15 minutes. And you'll see some potential there, even though it's like definitely not for you. Like it's very clear this game is not for you. Also, the combat is pretty good. Like, I don't know why. It has no right to be as good as it does. Maybe you should open up your heart, Josh, to new types of loves, says Brood. It Broods. It is open. Like, I downloaded the game and I'm trying it out.
This game looks like it's like 60 gigs.
It's 3 gigs. 3 gigs.
Oh my god.
3 big uns.
Oh I'm downloading it right now.
3 large gigabytes. Large hunky
The recommendations
gigs.
After this are unhinged. It's like hot anime guys.
Yeah, and there's like 1,000 microtransaction things going on in there too.
I would say, have you spent money yet?
It's 3.4 gigs. Then when you open it, it downloads 3.5 more. Oh, it's one of those.
That's not bad. This makes me. I'm just thinking about. I'm scrolling down. I see the Love Nikki, I guess Shining Nikki, and I'm hyped for the crazy open world Love Nikki game.
Devin jokes, yeah, a book club about Killer 7 would be a great idea. The Superculture Discord
Devin
had
jokes.
a book.
It's not a jokes.
Well, we had no because we had a book club for Killer 7 in the Discord, and it I don't think like really many people
Oh, right.
participated. I didn't, but that's why I was like, oh, I commented like when I started playing Killer 7, I was like, I'm like 7 months late, but I'm started playing Killer 7. It's a good game. It's a great game.
Let's talk about Prince of Persia.
Please. Please do.
Have you played the new Prince of Persia?
No, what is this? What is this on?
You know what you did play though since the last podcast.
What?
You fucking gamered Lies of P.
Oh yeah,
like
I
2
beat
days.
Lies of P in like 5 days. To be fair,
Josh was like, seems cool, and then like beat it in like the next day.
yeah, it's the only thing on the roster. TBF.
Yeah. Did you like it?
Yeah. It's definitely like if Bloodborne was just a video game,
Yeah.
which is good and bad. Last boss was kind of bullshit.
It's definitely like it definitely feels yeah, it's sort of like Bloodborne without the soul, but with like a little bit of soul sort of transplanted in as like a treat.
Yes.
Like there's definitely stuff there where it's more than Pinocchio Bloodborne, but it's not a lot more than Pinocchio Bloodborne.
Yeah.
But for those wishing for another Bloodborne, I would say it is a damn good surrogate in the meantime.
Like as a game experience, it's pretty much all there.
Yeah. Well, the other P, so I actually stopped playing Lies of P to start playing Prince of Persia. And
What's
the
it
new
on?
Prince of Persia,
What system
which
is this on?
everything, I think. I'm playing it on PS5. I think it's everywhere. I don't think it's like unique. It's just like a Ubisoft game.
Oh, is it on
might not be on
Uplay or something?
Switch.
Dude, playing
No, it's just
Ubisoft
like-
games
it's
is
just
the worst.
It's just like everywhere. Like I think it's just like everywhere.
I don't think it's on
Um,
Steam.
Really?
I don't think so.
What is Prince of Persia? Switch, PS4, PS5, Windows, Xbox One, Series. Oh, it might be like exclusive on like Epic or Game Pass or something.
I'll check out Epic. The EGS.
Is it not? What do you play it on PC?
I don't know.
Epic. It's on Epic.
Okay.
This game is really good. I think if Armored Core was our game of the year of 2023 because it's like a video game, Prince of Persia is like pretty similar. Like it's just a really good Metroidvania. And the thing I've been saying is that like it's what I wanted Dread to be. Metroid Dread. It's like it's weird because it's not doing anything that's gonna like sell anybody. Like if you don't like Metroidvanias, like this is not going to change your opinion. But the two things I think that are going for it are one is that the world is sort of it's weird because it's like it's much more open than Dread, but at the same time it's not like you're full on exploring. Like they still kind of like gate what you can do by traversal stuff. However, a lot of that gating feels a lot more natural, and it doesn't feel as arbitrary as something like Dread where it's like you need the red weapon to open the red door. Remember that you're going to come back here. Like there's a few things like that, but a lot of those things that are like that that you'll pass by are more just like secrets that you're rewarded for if you remember that they're there. It's not like kind of funneling you down a specific path. But the other thing is just that like they did a really good job of translating what feels like maybe Sands of Time, Warrior Within style 3D like combat, but making it be 2D and actually making it feel a lot more like Devil May Cry or something, where the game like is very keen to reward you on like combos and chaining your attacks. And a lot of the stuff they give you continually throughout the game are like more ways to sort of be better at the game instead of like just giving you a stronger weapon. Or even like enemies aren't like typed in a specific way, in the sense that like, oh, the heat enemy is weak against ice,
Right.
there's like none of that. They're just enemies, and the enemies themselves have like specific and unique move sets, and those and then fighting them is just a matter of like understanding their movements and attacks and like being good at playing versus like having the right tool for the job, which I think is like really cool. It feels very sort of like soulsy in that way. Um, and then some of the other stuff it does, I think that is really interesting, specifically around combat, is that like it's funny because it's very similar to Lies of P, but enemies in Persia also have this thing where they like flash red, and it's like an unblockable, unparryable attack. So you have to know to
Yeah,
like
yeah.
get out of the way. But then they also have the sort of inverse of this, which is that they have specific attacks that they telegraph with like a yellow light. And if you parry those, you do like a unique attack against that enemy that's like really strong. So, and but then also you can like parry normal attacks. So what the game does that's like really interesting, I think, is that the combat feels much more like gambling in terms of how you are attacking and kind of when you're choosing to parry or try to parry, because you're sort of like anticipating these big moments, but also like you can attack people and parry them, but also you want to like not try to parry and get yourself sort of like on the wrong frame to not be able to like parry the incoming thing. So it just makes like just normal combat just feel super good. Like it just feels like you're just fucking stuff up with your big swords.
Yeah.
Um and then like just the level design and traversal is like very uh and it's just like nice and pleasing. It's like very like it does feel again sort of soulsy, which in a way is kind of inspired by Metroidvania stuff in the first place, but you'll kind of go through passages and stuff will kind of like eventually loop back, but at the same time the game the game is actually like not super generous with like teleporting and fast travel spots. And it's also like you don't have a ton of health, and it's kind of hard to like keep your health up, like you will definitely die. So the game will definitely do things sometimes where you have to sort of go to certain places that kind of put you out of your comfort zone from effectively like a bonfire, uh, which kind of makes the game feel like more tense
Mm.
versus like something like Metroid, where you're sort of like you're never like in a position where you kind of feel exposed, but you can definitely feel exposed in Prince of Persia. So um,
This looks
it's
sick.
just good.
Yeah, this
It's
combat
just
looks
good.
super
Like it's
fun.
just it's super fun to play. Like it's super fun. It's like super athletic. You just fucking vibe, and like it's super snappy. It's super responsive. Like I think someone in the Discord mentioned like they weren't super into like 3D Metroidvanias because they're always feel like laggy. And I think that I would agree with that statement, except for this game. This game feels like you're playing like a sort of a flat 2D Metroidvania style game because it's like so fast and so responsive. Um, and I think it's super good. It's just like it's just a video game, man. And I think that like from the outset, like we were talking about this in the Discord as well, that like it looks like it should be like a $20 or $30 kind of like I think I call it an overachieving Xbox Live Arcade game. And like it definitely sort of has that energy at first, but then you start playing it and you're like, there's just a ton of game here. Like I've been playing it for like 10 to 12 hours or something, and it's telling me I'm only like 50% through. And I'm like, oh my God, like there's a lot of game here. So
All right.
um
You got me.
it's just
This is looking meaty.
listen, this game, there is nothing exciting to say about it except for the fact that it's capital F fun. It's just fun.
It looks like it feels really
I'm
good.
it feels really good. and it's like I am sort of starting to like the kind of like chintzy story. Also, the other weird part about this game for anybody who's like played it and like bounced off quickly is that it's very strange because the first like hour of the game is nothing like what the game is like. That's not totally true. But the first hour of the game is this sort of stilted like narrative thing. But ultimately you go to like a big location, you just explore around forever. So get past that first bit because that first bit is not representative of what the game is. It's like it's more like setting you up to go to Mount Koth. But yeah, I'm playing it like basically every night. It's really fun, and it's just good. Like it's just sort of good. It feels like they just thought about what the player would be doing, and they kind of just asked at every moment, like, "Hey, what would be fun here?" And yeah,
I feel like this game hasn't been talked about enough for how good it looks.
I think it's got like the weird like January release sickness where like people are still playing Baldur's Gate and whatever else and like playing whatever people gave Game of the Year. So I think it's going to be like, I think you'll probably hear more about it at the end of the year or like I don't know, it'll get released on Steam, and that'll be the thing that does it.
Yeah, I actually remembered I played a game that's gotten a lot of discussion unfairly.
You played a video game
for the January window. Can you guess what this game is, Kyle?
Was it a new release?
Yes. It's the game. The game. Everyone's talking about it. It's you punch rocks.
Oh, did you play Enshrouded?
Nope, it's another one. It's bigger.
I played Enshrouded, which I'd love to talk about. Oh, Power World?
Yeah.
How was that?
Dude.
I feel like we're a fucking video game podcast. We're not talking about Power World right now. What are you even doing?
Have you played this game at all?
No, I have zero interest in playing Power World.
Yeah, it's weird because there's things happening in this game where it's like, this is the Pokemon game we wanted since we were kids,
Right.
But for some reason, they decided that the way that this would be interesting and the best possible package for us to put this in would be to have the Pokemon be exploited labor. And not to politicize it, but I mean this is clearly what they have in mind. Like it's weird. The game is weirdly like exploit them to do your work. Like they have a sanity meter that you need to build like facilities so that they don't lose their mind and start slacking off from doing the work that they should be doing on the farm. They start doing the dirty work that you do in a crafting game. Like they'll do logging. You can set up like logging and mining camps that your pals go into. And it's weird because it's like, I guess like a big part of Pokemon the series, right, is like, how do we coexist with these creatures and not exploit them? And a lot of it is about like, the bad guys are exploiting the Pokemon for their power and the good guys are like using it for good reasons. And I suppose that theme, it makes sense to bear it out in a game like this, but it's not handled in a way that like goes beyond, at least from what I can tell. Maybe I should play through the whole game to see what the thematic, how it plays out thematically, what the moral of the story is. But it doesn't seem like they're reckoning with this in like a very real or responsible way. Not that matters that much. It's just a really weird frame for the game because I'm like, is this what I want to be doing in my ideal Pokemon game? Not really. I don't think so. I want like
I feel like there's like some version of this that like this is like the true reality of like the efficient market hypothesis, which is that people want to play an open world Pokemon game and people want to play a game with guns, and they're like, well, we could just make that game.
yeah,
Like
that's
I think
true.
someone in the Discord said that it feels more of like an indictment of like Game Freak sort of failing to ever effectively capture the sort of interest that since like 3D graphics existed, everybody has wanted a 3D open world multiplayer Pokemon game, and like they've failed to deliver that for decades. You know,
Right.
that I think that Pal World is like someone's gonna do it. You know, and they're like, what if we had guns and like rock punching?
Yeah, what if
Um,
you could shoot the Pokemon?
Dude, the other thing that I will say is that the PAL designs are really good. Like they look like Pokemon.
Yeah, I mean a lot of them are basically just rip-offs of Pokemon, but it feels like they could feasibly be Pokemon, which is saying something.
What I'm interested in is if apparently like Nintendo or I guess like Game Freak is like maybe looking at legal action. uh
I don't
so I'm
think so.
interested to see what the future of this game is. No, they posted like a statement on their website. Um they're like investigating
Really?
to see if they have like copyright infringement. Yeah.
Huh.
Let me see.
I didn't know that.
Game Freak Pal World statement. um, we have received many inquiries regarding another company's game released in January 2024. We have not granted any permission for the use of Pokemon IP or assets in that game. We intend to investigate and take appropriate measures to address any acts that infringe on IP rights related to Pokemon. We'll continue to cherish and nurture every Pokemon in its world and work to bring the world together through Pokemon in the future. Signed, the Pokemon Company.
Bring the world together through Pokemon. That is certainly not what Power World has no such ambitions. Uh not saying the Pokemon company is good for that, but I just think the lack of any sort of backbone or philosophy kind of shows through in the Power World designs, and it feels weirdly soulless, which is kind of not what I want from a Pokemon game. Like I want
I
the
think it's
soul.
also there's a sort of flavor of the month like Rock Puncher. Every 3 or 4 months there's a new one, and this one is like the one right now, except for Enshrouded, which
Yes.
is what I've been playing.
Okay. What's the
Which is
scoop?
like Enshrouded is sort of like Valheim, but more Skyrim-y. Like Enshrouded sort of feels like a multiplayer Skyrim with building and no narrative component, or like a much more thin narrative component, with Valheim type stuff. It's like way more gamey than Valheim. Like there's like weapons that have like rarities and effects, and you can like craft staffs to do spells. And the building stuff is like you're building. It's like a crafting game. Um, it's good. Nothing's gonna replace Valheim, but I would say that it feels like a more fully thought out idea of a similar concept. Um, but also, yeah, it's just a fucking video game. It's like
Man,
there's more going on in Pal World, and it's sort of like socio-cultural situationing. And Shrouded feels like a game that will do well on Steam and has done well on Steam. Pal World feels like a weird cultural moment.
I feel like
I
I
do also think that Pal World sort of like ate Enshrouded's lunch a little bit, because Enshrouded had like insane like Steam wishlist hype, and I think a lot of its audience is playing Pal World.
yeah.
Is my theory.
I I every time I start a new one of these games, it feels like I lose a little bit more desire to play a new one. Cause it's like
Yeah,
I'm
because you're like,
punching
oh
the
man,
wood and the stone again, dude.
I'm
Like
punching
I'm
it
gonna be
again.
doing this for 2 more hours until I build up the basic. Just let me like start with whatever happens after the wood and stone punching, please. You know?
This is like a weird thing. Like, I think that a weird thing about these games too is that like they're like a lot of they're sort of derivative of Minecraft, like ultimately. And I think the thing that all these games like really miss that also is really what makes something like Minecraft work is that all the crafting and like building you do in Minecraft is often like a necessity of progressing in Minecraft. Like you build a house, but then you need to get like wood to maybe build like a kind of better house that's like a little bit nicer. And then you have to like chop down trees to build like tracks to make mine carts. So you need to get stone and stuff to build a mine cart to go down to the mines. And then there's an actual sort of like cycle of dependency that makes you engage with the crafting stuff in order to do the other stuff. And what feels like is being lost, like through continual generations of these types of games, is that they just feel like separate parts of the game. Like the rock punching thing is just increasingly less of a thing that matters for like everything else, or it's just like it's its own weird microcosm of like production. Like Enshrouded is sort of particularly bad about this because you have a like unlike Valheim, in Enshrouded you like have to build within the radius of like a hearthstone effectively. Um and
Your
so you're kind of like
pylons.
cordoned off. Yeah, you're like cordoned off to where you can actually build. uh and then that means, but the other part is that like building doesn't actually like give you anything. um and so you can just sort of like explore in the world and like level up and get gear and stuff and like not have to worry about building. And at that point you're just playing like a worse adventure game. um it's weird. It feels like this like crafting survival genre has like morphed into this weird like just kind of, it's just a bucket of mechanics.
Yeah.
I think Power World like really is, very good at, or is like a good example of that, because you go to the Steam page and you just look at the feature list and it's like totally incongruous. It's just like survival, mounts and exploration, building, production, farming, factories and automation, dungeons, breeding, poaching, multiplayer. And you're like,
Breeding.
yeah, those are all features. You can breed your pals, buddy.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But it's just sort of like, why isn't any of that there? It's just so you can have it there. It doesn't really. It's not like a. It's not like a cohesive thing like works together. It's just like here are mechanics that work, that are like approximate to each other in the same game.
Well, and
Even something
punching.
like Rust is like, you're like, it's in a game like Rust, which is also like ground zero for this generation, is like you're building and getting materials to build a base because you have to protect yourself from like other players that might be attacking you. So you need a stronger base in order to like have better defenses. Like there's an actual kind of loop there, whereas this is just like, here's a lot of mechanics that you can engage with because it means like engagement, not because that it is like combining to make some better holistic experience.
Yeah. And it's just like it's defaulted to just punch the tree and then some wood comes out. You're just collecting items.
Mm-hmm.
And you're there's some crafting, but Valheim was interesting because like you could die in a logging accident. Like that was one of the most common ways to die. It was like a tree would fall on you. And
Yeah, I think on the Valheim also like you there was like a little bit more going on with the crafting being a necessity, and like also like the sort of real thing where you cut down trees and trees are gone, and like, yeah, the logs will fall, but also you need to plant more trees, or you have to go out and like find a place that's got more trees so you can do logging, and then you have to figure out a way to pull those logs back. Like
which is
that was a really
inherently
compelling
dangerous.
part of Valheim.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like that stuff is just not like in any of these games.
Yeah.
But the Pokemon have guns, so
I mean, that's the hook on this one. And it's just like, I don't know. Cool. Because they made, Pocket Pair made Craftopia, which has to be just one of the most stupid, blatant rip-off games I've ever seen, with the most unhinged opening, like, possibly imaginable. Like, I tweeted out the opening of this game because it's so insane. But, I can't believe that POW World has gone on to become a success. Only because people want to be able to see like a Pokemon come out of a Pokeball and make them do unpaid
that's
labor.
like that's it, right? It's like well, and on PC.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, makes sense. I don't know.
You play anything else?
Yeah, but not really that I feel like talking about. I mean, I played
We got some questions.
Yeah, let's do questions.
Let's do a few questions. Let's see. What's going to be the 2024 GOTY? Baltro.
Balatro?
Actually, I think doesn't Hades 2 come out this year? Oh, they haven't announced it. Early access is in 2024. I don't know. I feel like it's going to be a weird year for games. I think it's going to be something weird. You can't start the year with POW World and not have a weird year following that.
Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Unicorn Overlord.
That one actually maybe.
Dragon's
Maybe.
Dogma 2.
That also I think could be a good in the running.
There's only 4 games listed on this for April. 2 for May.
When is Unicorn Overlord? Have they announced the date yet?
March 8th. Stalker 2. What the hell? Zenless Zone Zero.
That's someone else asked a question about what gets you anything from State of Play, just PlayStation's event they did. I'm sort of excited for that game. I don't really know what to expect, but what it sort of seems like as a person who's not in the Hoyoverse is that it kind of seems like all the coolest parts of like Splatoon's world with like none of the bullshit of like Splatoon, but with a real sort of action RPG on top of that, but also multiplayer, which sounds pretty cool.
Some gacha.
Sounds pretty cool. Some gacha, some rolling the dice to get your favorite boy or girl,
A little gambling.
or like robot,
Or furry character.
or furry. Did they show a new trailer for that?
At State of Play, I believe.
Zenless Zone Zero. That game was also setting up for like if things go south, everyone's just gonna say it's like ZZZ. Like it's
Made me go to sleep.
exactly.
I
I think this game might have drip. Is also why I'm excited about it.
maybe it's a potential.
It just seems kind of cool.
We'll have to find out.
I don't know, man. Oh, you know what's gonna be the fucking GOTY for 2024
What?
is they're gonna like stealth launch Dokev. Dokev.
There's that game. I still have no clue what that game is. It just disappeared. Also,
It's because it's gonna get released this
I
year.
I have no confidence that that game's going to be any good whatsoever.
You don't think so?
No.
Dude, I think this game is going to be very good. It's got like Animal Crossing meets Pokemon vibe.
Dokev.
Uh
But these
Dokkan,
kids, dude, the kids in that, they look like little
whatever. Whatever.
Duplo characters.
Little Dukevs.
Little dookies.
No man. They're gonna I think this game's gonna
Death Stranding 2 looks cool. That doesn't come out this year though, does it?
Trailer yet. They'll probably like release some like stupid side thing that's like 3 hours long that's not called Death Stranding 2 prequel, but turns out it's called Death Stranding 2 prequel.
Any bad vibes? That one Destiny's Blade game. What's it called? Something Blade?
Stellar Blade.
Stellar Blade. That game looks like such a near ripoff. But I'm down to play it. I'm down to play it.
I'm just watching the Zenless Zone Zero gameplay trailer again. This game looks cool, man.
It does look pretty cool.
Will it just be like gotcha bullshit?
Yeah,
Maybe.
yeah, it's MiHoYo.
In fact, like probably.
But does that prevent it from being cool? No. Triple Z. I'm still uncertain about how, like, what the game is.
Dude, I don't know. Other questions. Does Josh have any must plays planned for this year of weird gaming, or is he just following the vibes wherever they may lead him?
Following the vibes, but I want to play Flower, Sun, and Rain. I want to play the 25th Ward, the Silver Case. Want to get to the Bouncer. Oh, like Rule of Rose, Kuon.
Uh-huh.
Trag looks insane. Tactical Rescue Assault Group. Trag Mission of Mercy. I would like to play all these. Clock Tower 3.
Here's a question. What's the worst game you got for under $19 last year?
Probably something on Game Pass, which is like kind of technically free.
I think you have to have bought it.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of anything. I think I had some like Steam regrets from last year. Let me see if I can open Steam. I think it's like I bought some stuff where I was like, a $19 regret. Let's see.
Sub 19.
And was it a dick move to say Lethal Company? Talk about a game that fell off.
It's a cool game for like a week and a half, for sure.
It's like it'll get you through like a few like games with the boys' nights, and then you're like, yeah.
Governor of Poker 3.
You're trying to like work some tables.
I played, it's just a poker game. I was playing with friends. Poker's a good game. You ever play any poker?
I have. I don't know if it's a good game. I think playing with money is a good thing.
Poker is a great game, dude.
All right, I got nothing else. You want to wrap the pod?
Wait, will the game industry survive long enough for getting old games?
Yes.
I think it might.
There's a game I just found on Steam that's just called Battle Teams 2. It's just called Battle Teams.
We got to get better names for video games. I mean, let me ask you one more question before we wrap up here. How do you feel about the industry right now? Because things are shit. Like, obviously, layoffs are happening left and right. But video games seem to be doing great. But then it feels like the writing is on the wall in some ways.
I think this year is going to be weird. I think we're going to see, my predictions for this year are like, I think that no one knows what to do after like Baldur's Gate 3 and then like Pal World and then Lethal Company. It's very hard to form like a cohesive thesis about what to do if you're making a really big video game, if like those are your signal points. And I think that like 2024 is going to be a year of renegotiating of what specifically big video games are. Um, I think like I think small stuff is going to be very big this year. And I think part of that is going to be like an outcome of like the funding stuff kind of like drying up for a lot of traditional like funding routes. So a lot of the smaller people are going to basically fill the gap. Um yeah.
To add on to that, it feels
I
like
think like dude, I think Final Fantasy Rebirth is going to like flop from like a financial perspective. I think that it's going to feel too like big and polished or something. It's going to feel cringe. So it's going to feel like no one wants to play something cringe.
yeah, it's like we've gotten used to the good games being these like dark horses that come out of nowhere, that like being a game with a budget behind it is kind of cringe. But also,
It's kind of cringe.
I feel like we've always had gaming has operated around the next big thing for such a long time, where it's like VR, battle royale, crafting games, open world games. You know, there's any number of things happening at once. MOBAs, auto battlers, MOBA shooters like Overwatch. And it doesn't feel like we have a next thing right now. Like, it's very unclear what that next thing is. Like, I think extraction
The
shooter.
Survivors.
Yeah.
That's even like old now. Like I
Yeah.
think that's like 2 or 3 years. Like the Vampire Survivor stuff was big. Crafting survival feels like the other thing I want to say about Enshrouded is that it feels like the best version of that sort of idea, minus like I think the crafting could be better, but like Enshrouded is like when you imagine a crafting survival multiplayer adventure game, like that's what it is. And it's pretty good. Like it's fun. I played it until like 3 a.m. on a work night. So um but I think that what that means is that you got to get new material at that point. Um, I want to see more weird MMOs. That's kind of what I'm waiting for. I think that's going to happen. Just that's kind of why I think like Dokiv is going to be, or like Zenless Zone Zero, the stuff that's like not MMORPG but is like kind of online, or like honestly like this new Grand Blue Fantasy Relink game I'm really interested in. Um, just like stuff that's kind of like ambiently social, but it's not like try hard MMORPG type stuff. I think that'll be an interesting space to watch. Um, I feel like big single player games are done. That's like big, like your Uncharted's, like that model, just like the Alan Wake, like that stuff just feels like it. There's no way that stuff survives. Um,
GTA 6 will be the last one.
that's gonna have some multiplayer component for sure.
And that's gonna be, yeah, its legacy will be its online. Devin
I
keeps
wouldn't be
saying
surprised.
unforetold Witchstone. Which is a fucking CRPG.
I don't even
coming.
know what the big games of 2024 are supposed to be. Like they all feel like minor releases.
Yeah.
There might be a new Switch console, a new Nintendo console. I think actually will probably happen. I don't know if it'll launch, but they're definitely going to announce it.
Unforetold Witchstone. God, what a horrible name.
The GOTY of 2024 is going to be the Paper Mario and Thousand Year Door. Actually, you know what might be a GOTY for people is the new Sheeran the Wanderer game. The Mystery Dungeon of Serpent Coil Island. It's like officially Sheeran 6. I think all the people who write about games will be like, this game is the best. Dragon's Dogma 2.
Do games take too long to make to have trends anymore?
Yes. Oh, you know what it's going to be, bro?
What?
You know what it's going to be? Fucking Black Myth Wukong.
That game looks nuts.
That game looks fucking sick.
The Ronin story of the Ronin or whatever that one's called looks cool.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if it's gonna be good. Looks interesting.
The Elden Ring DLC will be the GOTY.
Definitely gonna play this Prince of Persia game though. Looks sick.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap it up.
Okay.
Let's wrap it up.
Let's wrap her up. Thank you so much for listening to Bad End Podcast. It's been nice hanging. If you want, you can check us out on Twitter at X at Bad End Podcast. Email us at badendpod@gmail.com. Rate us and review us on iTunes. Check out our Superculture affiliates. Bullet Points has some great stuff going on. A lot of the conversations we've been having recently have been occurring in the Discord, which you can gain access to, patreon.com/badend. Support us. Talk with your favorite Superculture cohorts and colleagues, peers. There's some great people in that place, and it's one of the most vibrant communities that I'm part of. A joy to talk to these people. And some really awesome stuff to say about video games. Interesting conversations all the time happening in there. Check that out. And yeah, we'll see you in a couple weeks. Later.
See ya.
Let me kick everyone out. Unforetold Witchstone dropping soon. Watch this space.